Hello, everybody. This is Rich at Embarrassment of Riches and back again with Discogs Impossible, Part 2. First one was so much fun, and I actually got to use files that just sit around on my computer anyway because I am somebody who will just cruise through Discogs and look for the most rare and hard to find things that they have in stock or in store or wherever released. It's a good time. It's my idea of a good time. And I would like to start this by thanking everybody who watched that last video that I made. It is far and away the most watched video I have. I don't know if it's because it has Discogs in the title or just because I've gotten really good at this. Anyway, it's good to see you here, and hope everything is good where everyone is at. It's a balmy 66 degrees today here in southern Pennsylvania. So if you hear some ambient noises outside, that is the neighbors washing their boats, mowing their lawns, and screaming at their children. As you can see by the pictures, this is Pink Floyd and Queen sharing a 7-inch single for Italian radio stations in 1979. Pink Floyd contributes another brick in the wall, and Queen shows up with Crazy Little Thing Called Love. And this is something I really love to see, is two incredible bands on one record. Not necessarily a 7-inch, but this will do. This isn't one of those retrospectives you get or some record store day compilation where they both perform the same song. This is Pink Floyd showing up with another brick in the wall, and Queen with Crazy Little Thing Called Love, both still new in 1979 and proven to be among their greatest songs ever made. And this period of time in 1979 represents both bands at the absolute peak of their powers, and also coincidentally at the peak of all the band members in each group being fucking sick of each other. It's kind of weird how that dynamic creates some of the best music. That tension creates incredible music in those bands sometimes. And while I am an avowed not great fan of the 7-inch single, I mean, it seems to be people my age, it was our first introduction to recorded music. I grew up on 7-inch singles, but I don't collect a lot of them. What I am a fan of is music history, and you don't often see bands of this caliber sharing either side of a 7-inch or anything else for that matter. With only 6 recorded sales in the last 9 years, one could actually be forgiven for thinking that this thing is pretty damn rare. There isn't a lot of information to be found on this one online. One could only assume from the caliber of the bands and the fact that it was a radio promo 7-inch that it was sent to the biggest stations in Italy or in the biggest cities in Italy for primetime play. With bands of this stature, it would be kind of hard to believe that this would just be a please play this promo kind of throwaway things that record companies give out every week to radio stations. Oddly enough, every copy sold is listed as near mint or mint, which would also lead one to believe that these were already received and tucked away on the shelves as soon as it happened, because most radio stations at that time were probably just throwing on the album and playing various tracks through it and didn't see the need for a 7-inch. And the prices range from a low of $137 to a high of $263. Far more than I can or will pay, but only because the lottery keeps eluding me. Next up is the Jesus and Mary Chain, the vinyl collection box set with 11 LPs. As the hype sticker on the front so ably tells us, this collects all 6 of the Jesus and Mary Chain studio albums, as well as their complete BBC sessions, 2 live concerts, and an album of B-sides and rarities that were voted on by the fans before release. That's pretty awesome. But for fuck's sake, why was I not informed of this in 2013? I was paying attention to things coming out, I thought. This shit here is why record collectors have that fear of missing out that goes through all of us. Because if you take a week off, or if you tell yourself or other people in your life, I got to take a break, I'm going to take a step back, I'm going to not look at eBay. I'm not going to watch Discogs. I'm not going to go to the record store. I'm not going to look for all the things that are coming out in the next month, because that's the month that your band that you love the most will release something like this. Just shameful. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. Also included, as if the fucking fuzzy feedback heaven that they produced wasn't enough on all these records, there's a 40-page color booklet with photographs and anecdotes by the band. And for suckers like me to push them over the top and buy this, there's a 24 by 36 poster. That's pretty awesome. I like it. So much incredible music is contained upon this. All the studio albums, and they were a badass live band. And in the BBC studios, they were no joke either. I would certainly love to hear all of these records on my turntable, but there's a reason why this is called Discogs Impossible. These are dream records and dream acquisitions. However much this cost upon release, I'm sure it's dwarfed now by the price that people are paying for it. And this gorgeous Jesus and Mary Chain box set will run you a median of about $300 and all the way up to $600 if you have that kind of cash. And as a parenthetical aside to all this, I don't know if any of you out there consider the band's album Automatic to be one of their best, but I do. The original version commands a tremendous price to this day, as I found out this last couple of weeks when I've been trying to score one. And oddly enough, although I've been to record stores all over the country, this is one I've never seen on the wall or in the stacks. It's pretty rare. I'm not even looking for the UK version, really. I'd go for the Sire Records version if I could find it. But as you can see here, it'll command a decent price. If you find yourself unfamiliar with the identity of the two chaps on this cover of Curious magazine from 1970 in England, a UK sex education magazine for men and women. One of them is nascent fashion designer Freddie Beretti, and the tall, skinny chap on his side is David Robert Jones, better known to us as David Bowie. This is post-Space Oddity and slightly before Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And Bowie must have certainly been feeling his musical oats to have the audacity to create a band with his fashion designer, non-singer, I may tell you, non-singing friend as the lead singer and frontman of this piece. Everybody else in here is really good, but of course, this is a Bowie production. So even though Freddie is credited as lead singer, this is David top to bottom, writing, producing, arranging, singing mostly. I think Freddie's in there somewhere in the mix. And this ill-fated, short-lived band would only put out 2 7-inch singles, and both of those A-sides of those singles would find themselves on David's next project, with one being Hang On To Yourself and the other Moon Age Daydream, both classics. But most importantly, Beretti would be responsible for the Ziggy Stardust overall look, and even Bowie would credit him for this. And also, he was the main clothing designer for Bowie and his band throughout the most interesting portions of Bowie's career, from Ziggy all the way through to the Plastic Soul period and the Thin White Duke. All very sharp-dressed eras of the man. But I digress. This seems to be an important piece of Bowie ephemera, and many deep-pocketed Discogs members would agree with me. Both singles routinely command prices of over $100 and go as high as $300. And remember, this is a 7-inch single. And also for the Arnold Corns, the Netherlands release of Moon Age Daydream is by far the most collectible of this release. It's misprinted, so the sides are flip-flopped, the A and B sides. The Moon Age Daydream and Hang On To Yourself are flipped in that order. And this one, as you can see, will routinely run somebody $1,800. All right, here's one that I would really, really love to have. The Beastie Boys anthology, The Sounds of Science. 4 LP assorted track monster collection of the Beastie Boys. This is a collection of the best of the Beastie Boys to this date when it was released in 2000. And they still had a whole lot of good music after this, too. What a joy this one would be to rock the house with, I swear to God. 42 tracks of Beastie goodness. Not all of them are hitting 100% though. I really never liked that Fatboy Slim remix of Body Movin', but that's one track out of all of these. I can live with that. Regardless, the Beastie Boys mean the world to me, and apparently to millions of others as well. When this was released in 2000, I was far too broke to even contemplate buying this. I still didn't even have a working turntable at that point. Included along with this huge stack of wax is an 88-page color booklet with band commentary and friend interviews that I could not find any pictures of, sadly. But Discogs has a few pictures of the wax and the sleeves that have great photography. As always, the Beastie Boys had great photography from Glenn Friedman all the way down to the end of the band. This was limited to only 6,000 copies. And there's not one single copy in decent condition for south of $450 on Discogs right now. As you can see here on the chart, the median is around $400, and one just sold for $500 about 2 weeks ago. So this one's still going strong, and there's a lot of collectors looking for it. And here is another favorite band of mine, Pulp, with the release in 1995 of Common People. I think this one hit so hard because I could actually relate to it, especially at 23, 24 years old. I have searched fruitlessly in this country for this record in either version. And I'm listing two versions here because there are many more UK releases of this that were contemporaneous, and they all are loaded with shit, absolute shit, disco mixes and remixes, and only have a B-side of maybe a 7-inch edit. And I want this as unadulterated as possible with the least amount of baggage that I'm going to be skipping over. The first one here, and the most affordable if I were to buy off of Discogs, is from Spain, and with shipping would cost me north of $100. And this is while the Discogs median declares this record to be selling at about $38. So that's another gripe I have with Discogs, is people throwing shit on there at ridiculous prices and just leaving it there. They have nothing to lose. Not like, anyone's going to overpay that much. I mean, maybe you'll catch a sucker once in a while who just wants something so bad that they're willing to pay anything. But that's not cool. So this Spanish release has two mixes on the A side, and the B side has the 7-inch edit and the full-length version. A more likely candidate, although it has eluded me for nearly 30 years, is the 1996 UK and Europe 7-inch release, devoid of any disco remixes. And this release has the added bonus for the B-side, which is the Pulp classic song Underwear, which is one of my favorites, so that works out well. Maybe someday I'll have a jukebox and I'll just throw all these 7-inches in there and have a greatest hits party every single day. And this baby has a Discogs median of about 120 bucks. One just sold a couple of days ago for 140 for a 7-inch single. I understand cultural and musical importance is included in that price, but wow. And moving right along here, we have Ian Astbury with Spirit Light Speed, released in the year 2000. As you all well know, Ian Astbury is the vocalist for the incredible and classic alternative rock band The Cult, and erstwhile Jim Morrison cosplayer. I am a really big fan of The Cult, and for some reason in 2000, this release just kind of slipped right past me, and I only recently, last 10, 15 years or so, have had a chance to listen to it, and I really enjoy this record. At present, it has only this initial vinyl release from 2000, and that's for if any of the record store day people are bugging my house. Really though, it's a good idea. I hope somebody gets on that. And in my opinion, Beggar's Banquet has been really good with re-releasing classics from their catalog. You just have to wait a bit of time. And 24 years might not be enough time to those people. A quick look at the stats here will show you that the median is around $80 with a high sale of $244. Although one hasn't been sold in the last 4 months, so we'll have to wait and see where this goes. If we were to peruse the for sale page on Discogs for this release, we would see that they start at 170 US dollar equivalent, because I don't believe any of these are being sold in the United States. They're all in England and the rest of mainland Europe. The chart shows a whole lot of up and down for this thing, with a lot of space between the VG+, and the near mint copies that are for sale and have been sold. Even one recent example in near mint went for over $200, and that was only 4 months ago. And so best of luck to all of us that are out looking for this one. It's a good one, and maybe next year we'll be on the record store day list. Chugging right along here, we have the Peter Gabriel Scratch My Back 2LP limited edition box set from 2010. And you'll probably see by now that I'm not likely to be making any of these videos in the future without referencing Peter Gabriel at some point, whether it's solo or with early Genesis. So I apologize in advance. This beauty here was released in a batch of only 500 examples. And this is Peter's covers album. And wow, what covers he decided to choose. Just incredible songs from David Bowie, Bon Iver, Paul Simon, and my favorite track on all of this, and one of my favorite tracks that Peter has sung in his entire career, is the cover of The Book of Love from the great, great Magnetic Fields. This is on very, very red, blood red vinyl, and comes with a 4 gigabyte USB key that has a FLAC version of the album on it as well. Comes with a high quality print of the album that is autographed in pencil by Peter Gabriel. And the craftsmanship of this whole thing is just top notch. Peter Gabriel does not mess around when it comes to releasing albums or anything that he does. It seems to have his high standards on everything. I have no idea what these cost upon release, but if you look at the charts here, you can see that the first sale from 2016 was for $500. And in the 8 sales since, you can see that in 2022, one sold for $500. And I don't think with that particular autograph on this that this one is going to be losing value anytime soon. I'd be very surprised. But I want to thank everybody if you stuck it out here till the end. I really hope you guys find something that interests you in all this, and maybe something you even have. Let me know in the comments. This is all aspirational. These are all things that I doubt that myself I will ever be able to get. I hope other people do, and they share them with everybody in pictures and video. These are important things. This is music history, and we're historians and collectors, I'd like to think. So I want to thank you for spending your time with me, and until next time, I'll see you later. This record's only vinyl release was upon its initial release, and I'm fucking repeating myself. This record is only released with the initial... fuck me, man.